My background is visual effects. I've done a lot of special effects films, a lot of them having to do with water.
Well, I think John was nominated for several 100,000 Academy Awards for special effects. Now, how many has it been, 6 or 7? This is his strength, obviously.
I've spent a number of years with Jim Cameron. It's kind of my job as to making sure that all these fantastic images that were concocted were possible.
I've collaborated with John Bruno in the past. I worked with him when he was the visual effects supervisor on The Abyss, and also on Terminator 2, both of which were collaborations with Jim Cameron as well. John Bruno was initially the visual effects supervisor on Jim Cameron's Titanic, and he was indeed aboard the academic Keldysh, which was the ship that was used off Nova Scotia to dive down into the actual wreck of the Titanic. Since our film takes place on board a research vessel, he had a great deal of experience with what it's like to really be on board.
I like the story. The story was pretty fantastic.
A tugboat crew is caught in a typhoon. Their barge is lost, and in the eye of the typhoon, they come across an abandoned Russian ship, which has been attacked by a sort of alien space virus.
And this alien life is in the form of energy. That's what I find really intriguing. It's nowhere and it's everywhere.
It's a life form that no one has ever heard of.
It needs power to move through the ship.
What needs power?
It.
Interestingly enough, this project was developed from a Dark Horse comic, a graphic novel by the title of Virus.
When I first read this script, I saw all these images, and I sort of jotted them down and made notes. Images that would make you want to see this film. What do I want to see here? I want things in this film that would actually make me sit up at the edge of my seat.
He already had a vision for the movie in his head. He'd storyboarded almost the entire film so that you could see the visual process that he went through.
That's just like building a building. You have your concept, you put down on the paper, then you make a model. It's constantly was sort of modified as it goes.
The new part for me is dealing with the actors and their problems with story and how their character would react to certain fantastic situations.
I took control of computers, scanned all information, language, encyclopedias, medical data. He was learning. Learning what? How to kill us.
This is a movie that starts literally with a boat in the middle of a typhoon smashing down in a wave, and I've never been in anything where you start so high.
Everything that I've done in this film or had designed in this film is based on something I've done in the past in some form or another. And I remembered that I had seen the hulls of the Benthic Explorer from the Abyss. That ship, the miniature of that was 42 feet long. We managed to buy that, turn that into this ship. It's big enough to look realistic in the ocean. So here we are in the ocean.
We're doing some sparks and arcs on this ship called the Volkov.
Here we go, here we go.
Pyro!
We will add an electrical effect hitting the ship. Now that ship being 50 feet in length is perfect for storm scenes. So we generate all our storm footage with the miniature. And what would be fantastic about seeing a ship like this is that we actually found one that was about to be scrapped.
In that location on the Chesapeake Bay, we shot on board the USS Vandenberg.
It's part of the mothball fleet up here on the James River in Virginia. Sort of came across this ship, visited it. It was basically very, very rusty and the paint was peeling. So if we could get this ship, I thought we could basically do a lot with it.
And we were afforded great production value to double as the Vladislav Volkov, on which most of the film takes place.
Oh, the sets are incredible. This woman, Mei Ling Cheng, is incredible. And the problem, of course, is that she has, even though she's designed them, they still have to be somewhat real. So the fact that they're sets, to me, are extraordinary.
The set of the Sea Star, which is the tug, was on a gimbaled set and was subject to an enormous amount of water to create the feeling of being in middle of a typhoon.
I don't think there's an easy set for company to shoot because each one involved with explosion. Then we have sets involved with water. The big challenge is the creatures.
This is coming from space, and it's an energy source that is going to somehow evolve.
It then turns the machines on in the machine shop, which are all computer controlled, so it begins building small ones just by the machines operating themselves.
Well, one of them's like a crustacean. He's kind of got claws like a crab or a lobster. The other one that I thought was very interesting was the big fly. They have little tools for hands, and they have little needle-nose pliers as one hand, and it'll have video camera lenses as eyes.
We have a nail gun droid that's supposed to be a dog. It shoots one of our characters.
What it's trying to do is it's trying to come up with what it thinks the ultimate life form on this planet would be. So eventually it decides that insects aren't, and it decides to move up.
Squeak? Hey, Squeaky. We'll be right to see. Squeak man. Hey, you? Shit!
We worked together with the directors and the producers, got an idea going of what we wanted to eventually end up with, and then Eric Fiedler, along with a team of engineers here, began a mock-up, a first stage prototype, which was just like a wooden dowel and foam core construction, to work out all the points of movement that we can then begin actually designing the machine parts from. Yeah, I think this is the first time that an honest-to-God robot has ever been built for a film. In the past, what's been done is puppets have basically been built, and this, by no stretch of the imagination, I think can be considered a puppet. If someone were to actually build a robot in real life that's humanoid, this is pretty much what they'd end up with.
Go ahead and bring the knife and scope up.
It's all actually functioning, and it's got superhuman strength. And the thing is done with industrial hydraulic pistons, so it's really, really strong. The upper body moves are controlled by a telemetry suit. The operator steps into a suit, and when he moves, it translates the movements in real time to this thing. So if he wants to turn and shoot, the operator just does that. We've got the same type of situation with the legs, but the difference with the legs is that they're jointed differently than a human is. So we couldn't actually strap a telemetry device onto a person's legs. That's also hand operated. We've got some remote control functions of the face that's articulated, the eyes blink, the jaw works, that type of thing. It's kind of like conducting an orchestra. You've got to have many people doing something all in conjunction to make it look like one person's doing it.
We don't do this makeup this early in the morning because it's better for the filming it so that there will be no witnesses.
Donald, being the great sport that he is, allowed himself to sit in a 6-hour makeup and went through an elaborate process of showing him all the drawings. And it turned out looking just like the drawings. The suit involved basically a front, a chest piece, a back piece, a neck piece, plus electronic pieces on top. A scene which we had to shoot in one day because he wanted to stay in the whole suit, shoot the whole scene out.
What's the matter? You don't recognize me?
Foster, get back!
You don't recognize me.
All Effects, our company, has made the larger-than-human-sized characters, which is a 7-foot robot with 4 legs, 4 arms, and body movement and head movement, with muscles strewn across them to give it that human feel.
It was just huge. It was unbelievably big. There was one particular scene where there was just a door framing it, and it swung in behind the door, and you couldn't see any of the puppeteers or anything, and it was scary.
Steve.
It uses these creatures to wreak havoc upon our poor booties.
Shit!
After he has built all these 7-footers, he decides to build one for himself, which is a self-contained unit, which is our Goliath, which is our 9-foot robot with 4 legs, 4 arms, and a head. Very scary, looking creature.
I knew what to anticipate, but when I saw this 10 by 10 Goliath show up, it was pretty awesome.
We actually only had 3.5 months to produce this, from the actual initial drawings that we got to the finished product. Goliath's weight is estimated at around 4,000 pounds. Chuck Gaspar Effects built a linear track for us, and the character is run on the linear track, and we simulate the walk with the control systems: 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs, 4 legs. It takes 2 people for the actual leg movement, 1 for the front legs, 1 for the rear legs, so that we can actually get steps coordinated with the actual momentum of the character on the tracks.
This unit is basically called a telemetry suit. It's a controller that allows us to duplicate the movements of the upper body, rotating arms, biceps, shoulders, and allowing it to transfer through the computer to the robot itself. This allows us to have a better control over it than you would if you were using joysticks or single action levers, the way some hydraulics are often controlled. We can then use this type of unit on the real hydraulics to get the real power, where you see it moving through water, knocking over things. We have basically, in one form or another, a type of controller similar to this to manipulate every part of Goliath. There's a pivot point in the center that rotates like a hip. We've got controllers for the heads and the mandibles that are little claws. The robot can actually move his fingers as independently as an actor would.
We also have a rod puppet version, which is for close-up scenes with the actors for safety purposes.
The rod puppet is actually very similar to a glorified Muppet. The rod puppet itself is more servo and pole control, as opposed to any type of real motors and physical actuators.
What we've created here is a creature for real-time acting, so that the actors can react to the creature rather than having a computer effect or a stop-motion effect.
Are there more of those devices aboard this ship?
I think a lot of hope goes into initially thinking that the full-scale props are going to do everything that you want them to. Mostly as a result of time constraints, and sometimes because of the sheer size and scale of the full-scale props, you're not able to do everything that you can. John Bruno, he needed a lot more active shots to sell the fact that this thing had a couple of moves in it, that it could, move through a shot, it could, rear back and knock something over.
The director conceives of this shot during pre-production, creates a series of drawings, then he'll shoot the background plates based on those drawings. If he says, I want Goliath to smash a pipe, I'd say, you mean like this, or like this, or how does he do it specifically? We actually had the physical robot brought here to Tippett Studio to measure and paint based on physical reference of the actual puppet. We had to create a representation of something that actually does exist.
The art department then painted the texture maps that went on top of the individual pieces, all 500 of them. Once the animator had animated with a more lower resolution puppet, the technical directors would apply the higher res pieces to the puppet.
Once we have the information back here at the studio, I'll sit down with the animators and we'll discuss the entire sequence. We need to find out where Goliath needs to be, when he needs to be there, how fast generally he should be moving, and where he needs to go.
Generally where we start is with more ambulatory type things, where the character is moving from point A to B. The most difficult thing for an artificial thing to do is walk.
Goliath has a certain confidence. Nothing seems to stand in his way. Let's see if we can't portray that attitude in his posture, in the way he moves. As animators, we had to create a character that would move in a similar fashion as the actual puppet on location, but could do more things. For example, walk around.
The creature would come walking into the shot, and there'd be a wall of these 50-gallon drums, and he'd knock the drums out of the way. We created computer graphic doors.
We would create an actual computer model which represented the set. they would be able to put the puppet within the set, and it would line up with the objects that were shot on location. This shot in particular, the robot Goliath had to also smash some pipes, and those pipes were introduced as computer-generated images.
So the art department had to actually make and paint pipes.
When he smashes the pipes, the steam comes out. That's a completely computer-generated element.
In addition, we had a fake grate that he rips up off the floor.
I think that the bridge between live action and 3D CGI effects is seamless.
It's a sci-fi summer movie, and if we did our job right, you will believe it very quickly.
Camera mark.
My background is visual effects. I've done a lot of special effects films, a lot of them having to do with water.
Well, I think John was nominated for several 100,000 Academy Awards for special effects. Now, how many has it been? 6 or 7? He's won several. And this is his strength.
I've collaborated with John Bruno when he was the visual effects supervisor on The Abyss, and also on Terminator 2. He was initially the visual effects supervisor on Titanic, and he was indeed aboard the academic Keldysh, which was the ship that was used off Nova Scotia to dive down in the mirror submersibles to the actual wreck of the Titanic.
I've spent a number of years with Jim Cameron solving problems for him. It's kind of my job is to making sure that all these fantastic images that were concocted were possible. And everything that I've done in this film or had designed in this film is based on something I've done in the past in some form or another.
Roll, please.
He wanted to create something that was a roller coaster ride, but at the same time had a very great sense of visual dynamics.
Captain, recommend new course heading 229 degrees magnetic. A tugboat crew is caught in a typhoon. Their barge is lost, and in the eye of the typhoon, they come across an abandoned Russian ship.
What the hell happened in here? We went up boarding the Russian research vessel, and the crew members have all vanished.
300 crew members gone. What happened? 8 days ago, during a transmission from the Mir space station, something came onto the ship.
Interestingly enough, this project was developed from a Dark Horse comic, a graphic novel by the title of Virus. And instead of a virus movie being about some terrible, dreadful disease, this one actually was about computers that have been taken over by an alien life form.
As they're beaming the data via satellite from the Mir on board the Volkov, they went up beaming this life form on board.
It's an energy source that is going to somehow evolve.
What is this thing that's inside the computer, huh?
It's a life form. Unlike anything we know, not cellular but electrical in nature, extremely intelligent. It has no form, no shape, but it's giving itself what it lacks.
The life form living inside the energy system of the vessel will adapt and conform and mutate itself. We'll take the body as the host, and scraps from the ship, or weapon systems from the ship, or fiber optics from computers, and it will form its own droid.
What the bloody hell is that?
It uses these creatures to wreak havoc upon our poor booties.
One of certainly the frightening moments in the film is when we reveal the largest incarnation of the life form, the Goliath.
Very complicated. We have a number of effects companies involved. Steve Johnson, X Effects, his group has basically built anything that has to do with our biomechanoids. Those we built full size, that walked in the sets. We now have Phil Tippett involved, doing all our CG work.
John Bruno with Phil Tippett is really a visual effects dream team.
Certainly the limitations of a physical prop are kind of informed by the physics of its materiality and how big it is.
As animators, we had to create a character that would move in a similar fashion as the actual puppet on location, but could do more things.
His creations are incredibly character-driven, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to create a persona for this new life form.
Well, certainly the most difficult element in the whole thing was the actual model itself. Having had so many moving parts, it was just a tremendously detailed model.
And we would have to match his basic characteristics and then augment them in ways that they couldn't do on location. We'll look at the drawing and identify the similarities between the drawing and the actual plate, and we'll then discuss which elements within the shot need to be computer generated. The thing is just completely covered in blood, guts, and muscles and bone. It's horrific.
The bridge between live-action animatronics and 3D CGI effects is seamless. And that was certainly the most difficult and most challenging, and yet the most fun aspect of the visual effects on Virus.
A monster is a, psychological analogy or a metaphor for the kinds of things that we are afraid of, the melding of flesh and metal.
I'm on the audience. What do I want to see here? I want things that in this film that would actually make me sit up at the edge of my seat.
It's a sci-fi summer movie, and if we did our job right, you will believe it very quickly.
You are Virus.
On an antenna coupler is called a receptor. You got that? Not a capacitor. See, that's what we call it in the South Pacific, a receptor. Now, do I talk to you about navigation?
Sorry, I was just trying to help.
No, I don't. So don't talk to me about electronics, okay?
What is your problem? What, are you mad at me today?
I'm not mad at you.
Well, what is it then? Is it the chick thing?
Don't get me wrong, Foster. I love women. I just don't think they belong on a boat.
Thank you. Thanks. You know why? Because I forgot. This is just a hobby for me. Because I don't need the money. I don't need to work here. Because I have a Learjet. I forgot. I have a Lexus, too, I don't need to be here. I do. I have a Mercedes and a chauffeur.
Screw you.
I even have a diamond Rolex watch. It's in my cabin right now. You know why I don't bring it out? Because I'm afraid you'd steal it.
What?
You know what? I love this job. I love sleeping in a closet. It's one of my favorite things ever. I even love using the head afterwards. I even love taking a shower after you two because you're so clean. I'm telling you, it's the best job for a woman in the Navy. You become a navigator and then you go out on the Sea Star and you have a great life. I'm telling you, it's a fucking great job.
I have never stolen anything in my life. You wanna hit this?
Give it up.
Yeah. Fuck it, it's more for me.
I gave up swearing to you, brother. You should take it easy on that stuff. It's a health hazard.
Well, I'll be damned. That's saying something coming from a human wall of graffiti. I mean, are you people actually under the impression that those things, that crap in your face, is attractive? Huh, Hiko? And see, that's another thing, Steve. What kind of name is Hiko anyway?
Hiko is a Maori name. Like me. I'm Maori.
Whoa, hey, fellas.
There's stuff on my face that's called moko. I like to think of it like a spiritual armor, but that's really none of your business.
Interesting. Whoa, whoa, for one thing, man, don't walk up on me. Yo, don't touch me, man. Don't you ever touch me, man.
Fucking jets, would you?
So what is with those tattoos, Hiko? They got something to do with you being a warrior or what?
Oh, sometimes.
Is that why you carry that war club around?
It's a wahika.
A what?
Wahika. My grandfather gave it to me.
It's pretty cool. Who's that guy right there?
And see that dude? One of my ancestors, Hiko. See, my grandfather has the story that whoever carries the name of Hiko and this wahika at the same time, if he's faced by his greatest fear, he cannot die. That's a story. It's pretty choice, eh?
The greatest fears, huh? You want to know what my greatest fear is?
What?
Women. You let one of them sink their hooks into you and it's all over. Trust me on this one, all right?
This was built for one, okay? And you're it.
Now go. You go.
Jesus Christ.
I'll meet you on that island, okay?
Hello, Kit. It's me, Bob, your captain.